Before we start today's show and get into Game 4 of the Mavericks-Warriors series, we just wanted to start with thoughts and prayers. It's the very least that can be done about this whole situation in Uvalde, where there's a mass shooting at a school. Lives were lost that should not have been. Completely unnecessary. And our thoughts go out to them. Steve Kerr had incredible comments before Game 4. Go listen to them. Great stuff from him. And now let's get into Locked On Mavs and our talk about Game 4. The Dallas Mavericks win Game 4, and we get to let it ride once again. Luka Doncic says he believes that the Mavericks can come back and win the series. Should he? All that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, where we let it ride. Once again, letting it ride. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where we're testing out some new graphics, testing out a new look. Let us know in the comments below. What do you think about it? Let us know what you think about the new look in the comments below. It's the best way to help us grow is just comment on YouTube. And joining me, as always, my co-host contributor at Mavs.com. The Mavs in 7 son, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Mavs a 7, Chuck. Guys, if you didn't listen to the opening of the pod, Nick said some words about today. Today was a heavy, sucky day for our country and for our state here in Texas with the shooting. Full disclosure, I was supposed to say something in the front part of that also, but I just couldn't process my thoughts. I'm still working through a lot of my emotions right now, even with my wife and our little kids. And
it's a lot.
Yeah, as it seems really shallow just to say we're praying for the families affected. And if there is some type of tie that, families or anybody listens to this pod and Mavs fans and all of that, we really are praying for you guys.
And we hope that, and I hope that this is just a little distraction for you in your day. Mavs win, get to be excited about it. And if you're struggling, to deal with it, to think about it like Isaac is, or if anything happened to your family, God forbid, that we just get to let it ride today a little bit. Have some fun. Dallas Mavericks won a game. Western Conference Finals, they get a win. And guess what? Luka Doncic, first team All-NBA, 3rd year in a row. Isaac, absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy night in American Airlines Center. Shout out to the people who reached out there. Some of the listeners of the pod that in the concourse, there in the arena that, holler our names and say, let it ride.
Let it ride.
To the gentleman who somehow got into the press box and walked down to the front row of the press box to shake my hand and say, let it ride. And he listens.
Was it Jake Kemp or Tim Cato?
it was not. No, it was not. But what a weird night, from a leak in the roof to a Draymond free throw that just stops on the rim, to the Mavericks learning how to shoot again, to Warriors rotation minutes that I'm like, I don't know. Welcome to the series, Jonathan Kuminga. It was just weird all around.
It was a weird game. It was so drunk. Like, this game was so drunk in so many different ways that it was absolutely wild, the things that happened. But on today, we'll talk about what this Game 4 win means for the Dallas Mavericks. They're like one bad third quarter away from being 2-2. Should we feel some hope? Should we feel some hope in that? Luka Doncic, again, said he still believes that this Mavericks team can come back and win this series. Does the play for the Mavericks tonight give you confidence that they can do that? We'll talk about that. And then, of course, how can the Mavericks make history? We'll talk about the leak and all the wild stuff that happened in this game. But I think it starts, at least on the basketball side of things, starts with the threes. The Mavs made 20 threes in this game. I was talking to Kevin Gray before the game, and he's like, they got to make 25 to win tonight. They got to make 25, and they had 19 in like the third quarter, I think, or early in the fourth quarter, they had 19 made threes. And it just comes back down to the things we've said over and over again. Before the season, Jason Kidd said this team will not live and die by the three. Well, guess what? Here we are, like 103 or something games later. The Mavericks are still living and dying by the three.
Yeah, the NBA.com stats tweeted out after the game and said the Mavs had their 11th game with 15 3-pointers this postseason. It's the most in a single postseason in NBA history.
Sheesh.
If that just tells you how many threes these guys are putting up. But I mean, you look at the breakdown of these 4 games, right? I mean, games 2 and game 4 now, they've hit at least 23s. They hit 21 in game 2, 20 in this game. And the other 2 games, they hit 11 threes and 13 threes. So it's like, I mean, they gotta, I mean, especially against, one of the key themes of post game of, Jason Kidd's time with the media is him talking about how the Warriors love running zone against Dallas and trying to keep that paint closed up. And I mean,
but why did he say that, Isaac?
I mean, Kid's having some fun with it.
Yeah, he is.
He was talking about just how their zone, gives up those threes. He also said this is a direct quote from Kidd. The biggest compliment we've gotten is they got to play zone because they can't play us one-on-one, right?
That's the ultimate.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the ultimate quote.
This is a positive world.
We'll take the positive. They can't guard us one-on-one. That's what Jason Kidd is saying in that.
But I mean, but there's a lot of truth to that, right? I mean, it's the Warriors saying, "Hey, we don't want to do the switching game. We don't want to switch Steph onto Luka. We don't like Luka is one of one left in the playoffs right now." And so they're doing this zone stuff, and it's been working, right? I mean, they've won 3 games.
It has been working,
but they are giving up and saying, "Hey, we'll live with you shooting the 3-pointers." And it's worked except for this game in which, Dallas hits 20 of them and they play some defense against Golden State.
So the threes were incredible. The Mavericks, 20 of 43 from 3, 46% from 3. You had Dorian with 4. He started out the game 4 of 4. Bullock hit 6 threes. Luka hit 3 of his own. And one of them was like the deepest catch and shoot 3 we've ever seen him hit. Like Luka never hits catch and shoot threes, and hit that one from 33 feet or something like that. Brunson hit 1. Dinwiddie hit 2. Maxey hit 2 off the bench. Frank hit 1. Davis hit 1. Everybody that played big minutes except for Dwight made a 3 tonight. This is the Mavericks recipe. The Mavericks have figured out that if they can get these open threes, which they have gotten them this entire series, this entire playoffs. They've created these open threes. They just have to knock them down. And then the thing that's frustrating is that everything seems to live and die by that, right? The fourth quarter, Mavericks aren't hitting threes. They're not creating the open threes. And then the crazy comeback from the Warriors, got it to within 8?
That was another part of the weird night. I forgot.
Got it to within 8 at one point. And I think in the second segment, we'll talk a little bit more about, does the Mavericks play give you confidence? Because they almost did give up this game. They had a 29-point lead in this game, almost gave up the lead in the fourth quarter to the backups. Just a wild sequence. But it just goes back to the big takeaway is that they still live and die by the 3. And as long as those threes are going in, the Mavericks look unbeatable. They really do. When the threes are going down, it's just really hard to look at this team and say, wow, that team's got them. They got this in the bag, right? But they just haven't fallen the same rate that they wish they would.
I mean, it goes back to, on yesterday's pod, we did kind of 5 bigger questions about this series. And one of the questions was, hey, how can Dallas pull off history? How can Dallas do this thing and come back? And I just kind of threw out there just a random thing of, hey, Dorian and Reggie need to combine and outscore Spencer Dinwiddie. And so they combined for 41 points tonight. Dinwiddie had 10.
Yeah, you got that
one. And but they even outscored Brunson. And could you even take this step further of saying that if they outscore Brunson too, because that means they're getting their threes up. I mean, Dorian attempted 7 threes tonight. He hasn't attempted 7 in a game yet in the series. Reggie Bullock attempted 10 threes in this game. So that's a combined 17 attempts between those two guys. It means so much if both of those guys are getting a ton of, I say a ton of 3-point attempts. 7's not a ton for Dorian, but still.
That's weird, but it's true.
they combined for 10 made threes between the two, and that's massive.
Well, and look how many the Warriors attempted. This has been part of the recipe. It's not just that the Mavericks take a ton of threes. They took 43 in this game, made 20 of them. The Warriors only took 28. You held Steph Curry to just 5 3-pointers attempted this whole game, right? Like, that is part of the recipe. Now, Steph only had to play 32 minutes in this game, but still, that's part of the recipe, is to run them off the 3-point line and win that battle on the 3-point line, because their margins are so small everywhere else, rebounding, defense, all that kind of stuff. Their margins are so small that they have to win that battle of the 3-point shooting in a huge way. But coming up, let's talk a little about that fourth quarter a little bit. Should the Mavericks still believe that they can come back and win this series? Luka Doncic does. Should we? Does their play merit that hope from Mavs fans? Talk about that more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Built Bar. Oh, this copy just gives me life. I love brownies, but you know what I love more? Brownie batter. Sometimes I eat the batter just while I'm making the brownies. This is the copy right here. It's telling me to say this. I actually love brownies more than the batter, but that's okay. You know what I do like? The brownie batter puffs. I got one right here. I ate one today. You can still smell it.
Did you buy them or did you get them for free?
I bought these with my own money, made from this podcast that Built Bar gives us, that I then turn back and buy their products. Absolutely delicious. The brownie batter is honestly my favorite Built Bar at this point. 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, only 7 grams of sugar. That bar is delicious. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, get 15% off your entire order. Again, promo code LOCKED15, the number 1, the number 5, LOCKED15, to get 15% off your entire order at built.com. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Make sure you go check out the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast and on YouTube. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies, DFW native, is there with Richard Stamen, aka Mavs Draft. All kinds of good draft stuff, mock drafts, and big boards. Locked On NBA Big Board. All right, Isaac. Luka Doncic after the game said, hey, we still believe that we can win this series. They were down 3-0. Now it's 3-1. 3-1 seems way more achievable, like a comeback, especially against this Warriors team, because they have done it before. It's like they proved that it's possible. But now the Mavericks are 3-1. Does it change anything to you about this series that they won this game? Are you with Luka, that you believe they can still get this and make it happen?
Well, I mean, they're taking the right approach to it. I mean, the only approach you can have to it is you take it game by game. And the first game you had to get, we said on yesterday's pod, you get this hard-hitting analysis that tonight was a must-win game.
Yeah, it was.
And it was. But hopefully it's a kind of a springboard to your confidence being back of like, all right, we got our shots to go down tonight. And you know what? You know what they're telling themselves? Hey, we shot it really well in game 2 too. We know that we can play well in that building because we did it for a half. It's like, can we just pull together that complete half? Because yeah, you're right. I mean, when they went up by 20 tonight, I was like, dang, this is kind of like how it felt in game 2, except we were in the Bay.
This was exactly game 2. This was almost exactly game 2, except for the Warriors didn't go on that third quarter run. They went on a fourth quarter run, and it was just a little bit too late, and they threw in the towel a little too early in this game. Yeah.
So, that's just now they go back to the Bay, and this is what they have to believe in, that their shot's going to stay there, that they're going to have to come out, be aggressive, do their thing, stay true to their game plan instead of, just freaking out. The crowd's going to be going nuts. I'm really curious to see what Steve Kerr's rotation is. It felt like, however you want to say it, as far as like, did he get cocky with it? Did he I leaned over one time to John and Bobby and said, this is the most disrespectful thing ever.
I said the same exact thing to Kevin Gray in my seat.
I was like, Steve Kerr is rolling out Kuminga and Moody in the second quarter. And I was like, bro, he cares no craps about this Mavs team. And
honestly, so think about that. In the second quarter, he's playing Kuminga, who has not seen any meaningful time this entire series, and Moses Moody, who has actually seen meaningful time, but playing those two guys together is like, I don't know. It would be like if Kerr put out there like Boban and Marquise Chris. What's the Mavs equivalent of that? Because
I mean, yeah, Marquise Chris. To his defense, Kerr doesn't have a ton of other options. He has his top 6 with Poole coming off the bench. And then, Otto Porter obviously got hurt last game with that foot injury. So, they went with JTA there for a little bit last game, and now they kind of just replaced his minutes with Kuminga. And then the same thing is like Damian Lee's kind of been in the rotation, but he kind of sucked. So then they replaced him with Moses Moody in game 2. So like, I understand playing him, a handful of minutes, but when Kuminga is playing over 20 minutes, which I get a lot of that, was that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you really are just rolling these guys out there together, not even like staggering them either of like, hey, we're going to play like 1 or 2 with Draymond and Steph and those guys. It was like all of them with Clay. I'm like, all right, well, they're just like, all right.
And so they play those lineups, and it was kind of like, okay, are the Warriors just going to throw this game? 29-point lead. It felt like game 5 of Warriors versus Grizzlies, where the Warriors were like, we don't really need this game, so we're just going to go ahead and just put our feet up and not have to play the second half and just let Kuminga get some experience. There's all these stats going around about how Kuminga and Moody are like the only 19-year-olds with like the most minutes in a conference finals, like the most points in a conference final, something like that. So maybe they were gunning for something like that. But that fourth quarter, that to me made me really concerned. And if this would have been a wire-to-wire win and they would have been, more dominant and won the fourth quarter even, I would be way more confident in like the Mavs can come back. That really shook me that fourth quarter, just to see how quickly it came back. And to that group too that was out there, like the group that was out there, they were plus 19 in that fourth quarter. It was Poole with Moody and Kuminga, Damian Lee and Bjelica, and against the Mavericks group that was like it was Brunson, it was Dinwiddie, it was Bertans, Frank Ntilikina played a lot there, and then Josh Green started that, and then they had to bring back in Dorian and Reggie, and they were like, finally Reggie and Dorian can get some rest. They're up 29. It looks like this is going to be a good, and then all of a sudden they had to put him back in because the Warriors
and Luka
and Luka eventually, the Warriors just cut into that lead so quickly that I don't know. I got really concerned about that. If the Mavericks are like barely, and then it got to be an 8-point advantage, and then Kerr put back in Steph Curry because I'm sure he was like, all right, put me back in. When it was 11, Curry stood up, looked at the rest of the bench, and was like, hey, come on, let's get up too, because these guys could actually do it. Like these young guys could actually get the comeback and finish the sweep here. They like started to smell blood in the water. Then they put Clay back in and Wiggins back in. Were you as concerned about that fourth quarter, the way the Mavericks played, like I was, and how all of Mavs Twitter was really concerned about it?
Well, I was going to say, hopefully Steph and them didn't stand up on the bench, because that's really, really bad. And
hopefully they also weren't wearing white, right? Because it's one, it's past Labor Day, and two, it's, like you just can't be doing that.
If you are complaining about people standing up on the bench, you can just block me on Twitter. I don't care about any of your interactions.
You're sitting behind them is the only people that should be complaining about that.
And then you can just stand up too. Like if you are standing behind.
Not them, but not in the lower bowl.
Never.
Clutch my
was I concerned? Yes, I was concerned that they were going to give up another lead. Yes. I don't know how much I read into it for like next game. If Luka was out there the entire quarter, or like the starters, Luka, Dorian, Reggie, the whole crew, and they gave up the whole thing to the bench unit, I think I would be more worried. But the fact that they did it out, with Frank out there, and
Frank and Josh,
and Bertans, wasn't ideal, but I'm not. I don't think it's affecting a ton of how I feel going into.
You're not losing sleep over it.
I'm not losing sleep. If I'm going to choose things to be losing sleep, I'm losing sleep over the Warriors not losing a game in the playoffs at Chase Center yet. So I'm losing sleep over that more than I am, Bertans going 0-3 to start the fourth or something like that. So that's just where I'm at.
We may be concerned about Mavs in 7, but you know who is not concerned about Mavs in 7?
Somebody who rode in on a horse the other day?
The horse rider himself.
I'm sticking to it, baby. Mavs in 7.
Mavs in 7?
Mavs in 7.
So we're going to see you on Saturday?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes. Chuck thinks that the Mavs are going to have to come back for a game 6. He's going to have to return back to Dallas, and he won't get to start his vacation. That video is from Kevin Gray, who I was standing right next to when he took that video of Chuck. But yeah, Chuck believes
Mavs in 7.
Do you believe Mavs in 7?
Oh, well, anytime you have Luka Doncic, you can believe in a thing. Like anytime you have a top 5 player in the league, a 3-time All NBA first team guy in his first 4 years. We'll talk more about that on tomorrow's podcast because that is a massive, massive, massive deal. Like that is unbelievable.
Huge.
I care way more about that than I do All-Star or
Agreed.
any other random awards and stuff. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow.
All day tomorrow, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So there's a couple other stats in this game that maybe coming up next, we can talk about some other team stats because looking at some bench point stuff, let's talk a little bit about rebounds. I have a joke to make about that, but we can do that next.
Yeah, coming up, what worked for the Mavericks in this game? What gave us some hope that they could, continue this series and win Game 5? That is also
and a Reggie Miller quote that we got to talk about.
a Reggie Miller quote, and I got a little conspiracy theory and a Reggie Miller quote. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about BetOnline. It's the best place to check out the odds and lines and stats and everything to do with the NBA. It is lightninging right outside my house.
Yeah.
Right now. Everybody stay safe in Dallas. The Celtics are a -178 favorite against the Miami Heat in this series. Remember a couple days ago, they were both like favored to win. Now the Heat are plus 158. So BetOnline is not feeling the Heat as much so far. They already have Game 5 up for Mavs Warriors. Guess the spread, Isaac Harris, on BetOnline.
I'm going to say that they have the Warriors
Correct.
By 8.5.
7.5, real close. So if you're feeling like Isaac, maybe the Mavericks can cover that spread. And go check it out at BetOnline. You can get all the trends and action on your mobile device or learn about the trends and action on their website. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Isaac, we have been talking about the Dallas Mavericks winning Game 4. We got to let it ride one more time. Hopefully not for the last time. How did the Mavericks make it not the last time? What worked in this Game 4 that the Mavericks can carry over back to Golden State, back to the Chase Center where we made home for like 4 days?
You want to go back for Game 5?
No. Can I tell you? Can I tell everybody what you texted me during the game?
The first part.
Yeah, like tickets. If we fly Spirit, $300.
Yeah, it's true. But we can't because we're broke. If y'all want to fund our trip to San Francisco,
we are not broke. Also, my knees wouldn't make it through a Spirit flight all the way there. Those seats are so small.
Somebody wants to house us and pay for our plane tickets, just let us know. We'll fly out.
Can we stay with Andy?
Andy, do you have any extra rooms?
He calls us tomorrow.
But I mean, the 3-point shooting was the story of this game. They did some different things as far as offensive scheme wise, where they set some picks on on different people in the zones, whether in off ball to free up some of these guys to get open a little bit more. They contained the offensive glass a little bit more. They had 6 in this game. Somebody tweeted at me about the rebounding battle and say, hey, Dallas won the rebounding battle in this game. Okay, well, yes, they did because you hit 23s. When you shoot 50% from the field, and then as a result of that, when you get up by so many points, that the Warriors saying, hey, we're not even going to play Kevon Looney very much because we got to shoot threes. We got to space the floor. Kevon Looney played, you ready for this?
Not a lot.
2.5 minutes in the second half.
Oh my God.
2.5 minutes. So as your best rebounder, yes, you're going to lose that rebounding matchup because you got down so fast that you need to hit threes.
The Warriors are going to lose that. And the Warriors missed a bunch of shots, right? Like they missed a bunch of shots too. So that's when you win the rebounding battles, when the other team misses a bunch of shots.
It's wild when you look at the quarter breakdown because obviously the Mavs won the first quarter. They won the second quarter by plus 11. They won the third quarter, which is a huge change. Like I'd say that's one of the bigger takeaways of this game too, is the Mavs finally flipped the third quarter.
Yes.
They finally said, all right, we got this. Because of the leak, I don't know. But
that leak was wild. So the Mavericks come out from halftime. There was a girl that was like balancing on a ball and like spinning hula hoops at halftime. She exits the floor, and then the Mavericks come out, and all of a sudden we see people on the court like wiping up right over in that same corner over by the Warriors bench. If you'll remember, back in March 22nd of 2022, year of our Lord, against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Mavericks also had a game delay because the roof was leaking. So this is the second leak in a row. And this time there were 2 leaks. And when we walked in, before that leak even happened, there was a tarp on the ceiling. And there's this black tarp on the ceiling. They had it like suspended and tied in all 4 corners to different spots in the rafters. And I looked up and I said, that's kind of weird, but that's exactly where the leak was during that Minnesota game. And they had, they had that there. And then they had another one with like another white tarp, like right next to it.
You looked up at the ceiling tonight before the game?
Before the game.
Huh.
I
never look at the ceiling.
I looked up at the ceiling and saw that tarp and thought like, that's interesting that's there. So that they were like even expecting that, like they were even thinking about this. So here's my first conspiracy.
Uh-oh.
That
Don't pull a Reggie Miller.
Reggie Miller threw out there. Did the Mavericks do it on purpose?
Oh my gosh. That was the most, we know that, he has a Warriors tattoo.
Reggie Miller? Oh my gosh. I didn't even watch the game and saw. But for him to even, I'll say this full disclosure. I obviously did not listen to the broadcast at all. No, me either.
But I've seen the quote on Twitter. So if it's a joke or out of context, then I'm sure you guys will let me know. But Reggie Miller's, alluding of, hey, it's on the Warriors side. That's one of the, like if he was actually meaning in like a analyst, like I'm gonna make this note type of way. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard somebody say on live TV.
The Mavericks had to play offense on that end.
Yeah, breaking news
like,
that both teams have to play all over the court. But yeah,
I
thought it was Jordan Poole's tears at first that they were wiping up.
It was a pool of Jordan. But yeah, another leak. It was a delay of 16 minutes. Then they had to like warm up. They get 5 minutes to rewarm. It's dumb that I know that they get 5 minutes. I was like waiting for, all right, well, now they get 5 minutes to rewarm up because this has happened before. The third delay we've had at a Mavs home game this year between 2 rain delays, like literal rain delays. Sean Heath called it a rain delay in the arena. And
the Mavs have had more rain delays than the Rangers this year.
It's very true because the Rangers have a roof. And
we do too.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Mavericks do, but it's not as good apparently. And then they had the delay with the rim. Remember the rim was tilted against the Sixers in that one game, so they've had multiple delays in this. But yeah, the delay. But then they come out in that third quarter, and that third quarter was awesome, right? It was just a quarter where they came out, they blitzed the Warriors. They in a way that they scored a bunch early on. That's when they built it to that 29-point lead. That's when Luka hit that deep catch and shoot 3. He hit this crazy step back 3 with about 6:50 to go. And then the game just got real drunk. Like Draymond had that free throw that sat on the ledge. Like the no dunks guys call that a ledgie, not a wedgie, but a ledgie, and it didn't count. And then just crazy stuff started happening. And then all of a sudden, at 2 minutes and 43 seconds left, Kerr had Steph Curry out there, but with Damian Lee, Moody, Kuminga, and Bielitsa. Like it was almost like he was waving the white flag at that point. And our friend Reliably had a little conspiracy theory that the Warriors threw this game because, and Tim Kawakami, the Warriors reporter, tweeted this out and confirmed the Warriors will get $10 million for one more game in Golden State. $10 million for a game 5 because that's what it's going to cost. That's what they're going to get from like gate revenue and concessions, like all that kind of stuff. That's what they get for a playoff home game. So that pays for one James Wiseman for the entire year. That pays his entire salary, one game.
I mean, you know what? Bob Myers, if you're listening to this, Joe Lacob, or anybody in your family is listening to this, if you want to take it to game 7, that would get you that will get you more money. You know how much money that would save you?
Imagine if it was
Mavs in 7.
Imagine how much you could get for a game 7.
Just think about the prices that you can make even higher and how much money that would help with your luxury tax.
Make game 7 shirts like, Dubs in 7. Like make those shirts and sell all those shirts. But
that would be a smart business decision, unlike Luka made against Andrew Wiggins. But I think you need that money. So that's free advice from me to you, Joe Lacob, in that. The Mavs had 30 assists tonight. That's huge.
Huge.
You know, game 1 of this series, they had 14. I think it was game 3, they had 18. So 2 out of the 4 games so far, they've had under 20 assists. I think even in game 2, they had 22 assists. But to have 30 assists in this game, Jason Kidd pointed out after the game 2, is massive. And how do you get assists? Whenever you make shots, like everything is linked to them, just making their shots.
Another thing that really stood out to me in this game, another stat, Mavericks had 23 shots at the rim. They made 16 of them, but they got 23. They had 6 in one game in this series.
Yeah.
Like that was huge. They were getting to the rim and they were just attacking. They were going to the rim. They were trying to get, to the free throw line a little bit. They took 22 free throws. Luka took 10 of his own. Dinwiddie at times was just like, I'm going to drive in and I don't care what happens to me. Like I don't care if I get a shot off or not. I'm just going to go for the rim. He also always thinks he gets fouled on every single play, which I now find humorous. And he finally got called for an illegal screen. I was waiting for that one because he just comes in and trucks Wiggins or whoever. It was almost like he's an offensive lineman, just pushes him, and he can get away with it because he's like still moving afterwards. It's not like the moving screen where you move your hip or your shoulder into somebody. He like just runs through him. But he finally got called for a moving screen there. But the shots at the rim were huge, and that was one of the reasons why the Mavericks were winning. They didn't really take any shots. I'm looking at their shot chart. They didn't take a ton of shots in the mid range. They took a lot at the rim, and then obviously a ton of threes, and that was key for this game. If you can get to the rim and you can hit threes, like you can win a ton of games in this league.
Yeah, and I want to shout out Reggie Bullock because he got a lot of flack after last game.
I have to apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
I mean, arguably, probably the worst offensive game he's ever played last game.
Yeah.
Biggest stage he's ever played on. And he goes 0 of 10, doesn't hit a 3, nothing. And, Mavs fans are obviously upset about it. He's upset about it. I watched his whole pregame routine before the game tonight, and he was just so carefree and just, going through his routine. And it's like, it just felt like he had already turned the page. And I was just really happy for him to hit 6 threes tonight, just to have the complete bounce back, that it wasn't in his head. It wasn't like, if that was me out there, I would still just be thinking about the last game, and I would just be bricking shots because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about everything. And I just want to give him a shout out.
And along the lines of Reggie Bullock, I missed this after game 3, and then yesterday as well. Reggie Bullock won the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Award, which was an incredible award. He had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on Zoom telling it to him. The award looks so cool. It's like this hand holding a basketball. I thought it was a really cool looking award. But this was written in advocate.com. Since joining the Mavs, Reggie Bullock has worked with organizations including Abounding Prosperity, Dallas Southern Pride, House of Rebirth, the Black Tie Dinner, the Resource Center, and the Malaysia Booker Foundation. And then he also started his own foundation, Remarkable, an organization focused on developing revitalized spaces for a stable life in the LGBTQ plus community. And this has been a thing that's been really close to Reggie Bullock's family because his sister was a trans woman who was murdered in Dallas, and whose activism inspired him. And so that was in 2014 that she died, and that was a huge thing for Reggie Bullock. So incredible that of all the NBA players in the NBA, he won the social, and all the causes and all the people doing things, he won the Social Justice Award. Incredible for Reggie Bullock. So glad he had this bounce back game, but also just glad for the work that he's doing in Dallas. Incredible stuff.
He's a good one, man. We obviously, when Harrison Barnes did a lot of work in the community here in Dallas, and it was a bummer, losing HB, but to have another guy like Reggie Bullock repping the Mavs is really cool. The last thing I was going to add is a quote that Maxey said post game, and I think it's a good one to potentially end the pod on. He said, "I don't think it's really that much different. Nope, sorry, that's not the right quote. Take that out. Take that. No, where's it at?
Mike Leslie tweeted it out, I think.
Here you go. The question was, I heard God Sham God said to Tim Hardaway Jr. tonight, this was the first night of y'all starting to rewrite history. What is the confidence level here? Maxey said post game, I mean, if you don't believe in it, you might as well just stay home, right?
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah. Sign me up for that, Maxey. I like that.
Exactly. Hey,
and we're gonna stay home because we're not going to the Bay. So,
and remember, this season is still a success. Everything is gravy. This win, gravy. Great for the Mavericks to win this game. This Warriors team looks like the best team in the NBA. Mavericks getting a win against them is still big, still a good win for the Mavericks. And tomorrow we'll be back to talk about Luka Doncic getting first team All-NBA. That's a huge, massive deal. 3 times in his first 4 years in the NBA. Who else has done that? We'll talk all about what it means for him tomorrow. But now, thanks for making us your first listen. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA Monday through Friday. You got John Corrales and Jake Madison on the show today. And tomorrow is your boy with Pat the Designer. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube as well. Check out Locked On NBA. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Mavs about to get this dub, baby. And bring it back.
To it, baby. Mavs in 7.
Mavs in 7.
Mavs in 7.
So we're going to see you on Saturday?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
If they win this game 5, if they win this game 6 in or game 5 in the Bay, y'all not ready to let it ride.
Mavs in 7.
Because then it's all open then. But we'll see y'all.
Thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.